Let me ask you something. Have you ever written a scientific article for a peer-reviewed journal? It's tough, right? I know. What if I say a cat has managed to be a co-author for a scientific article published in Physical Review Letters by American Physical Society? Here I'm not saying a person's name was Mr. or Mrs. Cat. It was a cat and whose name was F.D.C. Willard. Does that make you feel a bit insecure? Allow me to add a bit more. Later on, the very same cat even managed to be a main author for another scientific article published in French magazine La Recherche. Okay, before you become more jealous about our F.D.C. Willard, let's jump into the history and see what actually happened. It was the year of 1975. Professor Jack H. Hetherington from Michigan State University, after finishing writing his paper, sent it to his friend to have a last look. His friend spotted an error in it. It was not a scientific one, but it was something else. Professor Hetherington has used a royal pronoun we throughout the paper, and the journal he was about to submit, Physical Review Letters, prefer we or our only when there are multiple authors. And he was alone writing a paper. I know what you're thinking right now. It's quite easy. Go to Microsoft Word to find and replace, right? Well, actually not. It is the year of 1975 and Microsoft Word was not there yet. Hetherington has written his paper by typewriter. So he has to rewrite or retype all the paper. And it's going to cost him a time. And he was in rush to publish the paper. Or maybe he was kind of lazy. So, as a scientist, he came up with an efficient solution to his problem. He asked his secretary to add a co-author, and that was his family cat. Hetherington's cat's name was Chester, and now he has to invent a full name. So what he did is, he added a scientific name in front of it, Felis domesticus, and for the family name, he chose the name of Chester, the cat's father, before in the family, Willard. So he got his full name, Felis domesticus Chester Willard, aka F.D.C. Willard. And then Hetherington portrayed his F.D.C. Willard as one of his colleagues in Michigan State University and submitted the paper. After the paper was published, it didn't take long for F.D.C. Willard's true identity to be out in the public. As the story goes, once there was a visitor in the university asking for authors. Since Mr. Hetherington was out of his office, he asked for F.D.C. Willard. Then everyone in the university started to laugh. There you go, that's how our cat was out of the bag. The story just gets interesting here. When once Mr. Hetherington has to submit or send his research article to all the researchers around the world, but by putting a signature on top of it. You know what he did for his co-author? He actually inked the paw of the cats and put the mark on top of it and then submitted it around. One of those papers ended up to the physicists in Grenoble, France, and actually they were planning to invite Professor Willard for 15th International Conference on Low Temperature Physics. Of course, after knowing the identity, they didn't do that, but that's how it went. In fact, in November 1975, chairman of the physics department of Michigan State University wrote a letter to Hetherington stating if Willard could be persuaded to join us, even if only as a visiting distinguished professor. Ever since, Willard has been cited being instrumental to numbers of experiments on angular momentum, gravitational force at Michigan State University's physics department by, of course, the colleagues of Hetherington's. Well, but the major breakthrough for our Willard's academic career came in the year of 1980, when at the age of 10, he finally managed to be a main author for another research article published in French magazine La Recherche. Yes, you guessed it right. Our friend Willard can now talk and write in French. Of course, it was the act of Mr. Hetherington and his colleagues. When later asked to Mr. Hetherington why he actually made his cat as a co-author, he stated like this. Most of us are paid partly by how many papers we publish, and there is some dilution of the effect of the paper on one's reputation when it is shared by another author. On the other hand, I didn't ignore completely the publicity value either. World-renowned F.D.C. Willard passed away at the age of 14 in 1982. On 1st April 2014, American Physical Society made an announcement that all the papers written by cats would be made freely available to general public. Well, I don't know what you are thinking at this end of the video, but I was thinking why all the physicists are so obsessed with the cats. First, Schrödinger in his thought experiment, then now this F.D.C. Willard publishing papers. Nowadays, I even see Sean Carroll posing pictures with cats in his profile pictures. This made me thinking, maybe I should get a cat.